meeting of the Bucyrus City School Board of Education. Call it to order. It's Tuesday, November 29th, 2011. Roll call, please.
Dr. Johnson?
Here.
Mrs. Stone? Here. Mr. Schiefer?
Here.
Dr. Hope?
Here.
Mr. Lipscomb?
Here. And if you could all rise with me and face the flag at the back of the room, we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Special welcome to everyone here this evening. Glad that you're here to view this, as well as people that are hopefully viewing this on Access and on the internet as well. So welcome for that. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes from the October 27th, 2011 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Support. Okay. Support by Mr. Schiefer as well. Any discussion on the minutes at all? If not, roll call, please.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone? Yes. Mr. Schiefer?
Yes.
Dr. Hope?
Yes.
Mr. Lipscomb?
Yes, and that has been approved. Our next item of business is to approve the treasurer's financial report dated October 31st, 2011. Mrs. Jacobs, do you have anything you'd like to present for that?
Yes, the financial report this time holds, a great deal of information. I'm sure you've all had a chance to review it. There are a couple of items that I want to discuss that aren't in the report. One of them is the fact that I met with a group today called Enlight. They're educational, networking, learning, and improvement technology. It's a benchmarking group that is looking at the finances of specifically school districts in the state of Ohio and benchmarking their results against other like school districts in the state. It's combining not only financial data, but also square footage of buildings so that you know how much per pupil you're spending on your electricity, how much per pupil you're spending to get specific results as far as achievement for students. So it actually weaves together all of those different pieces. They're charging $2 per student to do this benchmarking report once a year. And we were thinking, because I talked to Kevin about it today, we were thinking because of all of the decisions that we're going to need to make after the first of the year, the finances of the district, that this may be additional data that we would want to have on hand. He is going to write us a proposal that he will send, and I anticipate I'll have that for the December meeting. The other item that we need to discuss is the resolution for to adopt a district-wide spending freeze for all non-essential expenses. Due to the fact that as of this, the close of October, our revenues are actually down 16.5% from where they were last year at this time. So it's not painting a pretty picture at this point. And I'm still projecting right now approximately $1.7 million deficit by the end of the year.
I guess one question I would have is, does the resolution enable the superintendent and treasurer to do what they can already do when it comes to approving purchase orders?
The only reason for the resolution is to put it on the minutes. I mean, that's the only reason for the resolution. Is it going to change anything that we're not doing already? It is going to have us, I think it has us take a harder look at what expenses we're actually putting through. And anything that would be essentially non-operational and non-instructional, I mean, we're going to have a second look at it, and it's going to be, board action. It's just asking for the support of that to try and cinch those expenses even tighter. And now the people in the district will understand exactly where we're at. I mean, because I know that we know exactly what's going on with finances. We've talked about it on an ongoing basis, but I don't think everyone in the district is aware of that.
So you're hoping this creates a sense of urgency amongst the group?
That's right.
Is there any of the expenses which are more out of, I guess, higher this year than they were last year, other than what we know, or would be salaries and benefits?
The open enrollment expenses are higher. We're actually only seeing an increase in expenses this year by about 8% from where we were last year. I mean, so the amount of increase isn't huge when we know that medical insurance alone, we realized almost a 5% increase. So what's really hitting us is the reduction on the revenue side and the continued open enrollment figures going out between community schools and open enrollment. Those figures are huge.
In the past, I've always found the 5-year forecast to be a very effective management tool. Where are we with that? I thought at some point it had to be given to the board, approved and sent on to the state.
It was in October?
Oh, I didn't know we took action on that.
Yes, we did. Yeah, it's due to the state by the close of October. And we actually met earlier in the month, didn't we, for October? Because I know it was early, we had that done.
I know there was some discussion about that because it kind of looked to me like on this one line, it was like a miracle occurs here and all of a sudden we have a balanced budget. And I guess I was looking for a 5-year forecast that was more interactive, that had embedded formulas that actually you could plug things in and project out what reductions or increases in expenditures would result in. Where are we with that? kind of software?
I'm still working on that because I went to that seminar that was 2 days long, and there was a chunk of it that we put in, but that didn't happen until the end of October. They actually have those seminars scheduled at really odd times because it's right at the deadline for that. So, I mean, we'll see that for the May 5-year forecast.
I'm certainly in support of this resolution, but I would think a publicly documented 5-year forecast that's readily available that people can look at would be also very important.
We share the information that's on the website.
Yeah, right. The financial website is open. Those figures are readily available. Well, and that's the other piece of this group that I spoke to today that's doing the benchmarking. We're going to be able to have all of our data put specifically into that management tool. And I think it's going to be able to show you graphically, very quickly and very easily how we're measuring up. What are we doing that, are we meeting those benchmarks of other similar districts? I mean, are we doing that? I mean, what is our cost for electricity per square foot? I mean, it goes down to that level. So we'll be able to make those kinds of decisions. And based on that trend data, I think we should have a pretty solid 5-year forecast coming in.
Yeah, again, I can't emphasize that enough because that's a document that the state
Absolutely.
needs to determine whether you're in fiscal watch, emergency, and that's to me the key document. I think everything else can support that, but that's the document that I look for.
Don, in planning, looking towards, it sounds like we're looking towards deficit spending here. You said $1.7 million deficit.
That's correct.
And when it comes next spring, we're facing a lot of issues, and it seems like right now is the time you want to get together, put all our heads together, and figure out and project before, because I know going out to the public and saying we need funds is very, we see a lot of people asking levies and asking more issues, and I don't think we can handle that situation. So we have a significant issue.
Yes.
And so I would recommend whatever we deal with it now prospectively rather than try to react to it 6 months from now and let it go. I mean, just putting a freeze on enough. We need to start looking at whittling things down at this point right now, and I guess that'd be a question for Kevin to be involved with too. I mean, just recognizing we have an issue, you certainly do. And it doesn't appear that there are funds coming from outsourced areas. So my question is, do we need to be more involved with this, take this on a little more directly, look towards efforts of collaboration? Are there opportunities to save us in our system and maybe work with other districts? And I think this is a time you need to bring that up or think about these kind of things going forward, because the money's just not out there. And I don't want to sound like a down player, but I don't think we can ask our community to help us anymore with any more funds here unless we really are stuck in a situation to do that. So I mean, I guess my question is it enough to say we're going to put a freeze on here now, or do we take it further and act as a unit to try to help you solve this problem? It's a difficult situation to be in.
It is, and you know, we had talked about sitting down and putting our heads together after we close the first half of the year, and that will be December 31st when we'll close. I mean, that'll give us I think a pretty clear picture. Half of the year is gone. This is where our revenue is sitting. I mean, they could come in tomorrow and change my revenue stream. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they know. I mean, I know that we have a bridge formula right now that's supposed to get us through until the beginning of fiscal year 13. So that would be July 1st. But then it's a whole new ballgame at that point as well. So, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, it's difficult to know. I know there's going to need to be some real strategic planning that happens as soon as we close December 31st. We're going to have to make some decisions about what direction we're going to go.
You know, right now, the only place I see us eliminating more is personnel cost. And a lot of our teaching contracts and our aid contracts we're locked in through the year. So I mean, we put a game plan together. We're not going to be laying anybody off midway through the year. But you know, essentially that's why we've already started discussion, dialogue with the scheduling process. The numbers that come back on what kids need to take next year is going to impact what courses we're able to offer. You know, if we have 10 kids sign up for a course, chances are we're not able to offer that course next year. You know, we're going to have to really take a hard look at the number of teachers and the number of aides we have in our district, because there's not much more we can cut on, you know, paper clips, those type of items. You know, and from a perspective standpoint, you know, we had passed a $500,000 maintenance and $500,000 PI. We can't shuffle that money from those silos over to support instruction. And so, you know, for a long time we went without doing anything maintenance-wise in our district, and so for 5 years we basically let that maintenance account build up, you know. And now we're realizing that we need to buy some big ticket items. We need a lawnmower. You know, both our lawnmowers are 20 years old. You know, if we're going to get the lawn mowed, we need tools to be able to do it. You know, and so there's some ticketed items like that. You know, how can you be talking about limiting the number of teachers, but then going out and buying, you know, big ticket items? And that's a discussion we need to be clear and open with everybody, because it doesn't come from the same pot of money.
How is the re-eval this coming year? Isn't it this coming year for property taxes?
12.
It's 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is that? I mean, that's significant. That could significantly affect us, correct?
Well, remember that the
It could.
millage that we're collecting is, you know, currently right now we're collecting about 17.5 mils, and then we get brought up to the 20 mil floor. So as property values continue to decline, that gap will continue to grow. The difficult position that puts us in is if at some point we go to ask for operating money, if let's say that because of our deficit, let's say we need to ask for 10 mils, we're going to have to ask for 13 or 14 mils to realize the 10 mils, because we have that gap to make up. So that's a difficult situation to be in.
I mean, it's in refinancing our house. Our house now, 13 years later, is worth less than what it was 13 years ago. I mean, even a small house that we thought we got for a steal is definitely worth less, and you know, they're taxing the hell out of it right now, and I know everybody in the community. I mean, it can be a serious problem here.
Well, and
I
the
mean-
problem is nationwide.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just Bucyrus, it's not just
Yeah.
Crawford County. I mean, it truly is nationwide, and we can't look at the operation of this district on the finance side as business as usual,
Mhm.
because nothing's like it used to be.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we're gonna have to really kind of think out of the box.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, additional revenue streams, you know, what are we gonna do to attack the open enrollment numbers going out? What are we gonna do to try and get, some of the kids back into the school district that have chosen to attend, you know, other schools? I mean, there's some real planning and some definite action that needs to happen to help us realize.
And how many are going to the community schools?
About 70 students.
And it's over $5,600 a student.
It's 400 and some $1,000. And on a positive, we have a classroom in the annex building now that is set up for a computer lab. It's going to be used for an alternative school/online opportunity for students. So if we have students who, for whatever reasons, traditional education is not working for them, here's an opportunity to provide them a education online, either all day or a hybrid between some computer school, some direct instruction, and try that first before they were to go and automatically withdraw to track or e-count at one of those schools.
When will that be up?
It's open, the computer lab's up and running now through a grant through North Central State College. It costs about $5,000 to get that lab up and running. We use computers that we had left over in the building to outfit that building. Brian Baines and Christina Stevens wired the building for me. Initially, we were looking at about $12,000 to $13,000 to get that room up and running. We didn't have that money, so we basically pieced it together. North Central State College is splitting the cost with getting that up and running. They're providing us a teacher from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The details of that hasn't been worked out yet, so that's why the proposal or the agreement hasn't been forwarded to the board yet, but it's called Solutions. Is the daytime program. Then there's going to be an adult program at night called Quick Starts to College. And both those programs, it will be completely funded through North Central State College. We're going to be able to start assigning kids in there as early as a week from now. As soon as they get the teacher's been hired, they're going through a training right now. And it's an opportunity for kids to either take classes online and or take go through success units on how to be successful in school. We're really targeting 7th through 10th graders. You know, that middle age where we're losing some kids to digital school because they find out that coming to school every day and getting credits is difficult. For years they've been kind of passed through, and then they get to be freshmen, and what do you mean I have to earn credits and to earn a high school diploma? You know, so what we see is kids not being real successful their freshman year, and a portion of those kids then go to TRECA, and they're not being real successful there. So hoping if they want a non-traditional education, we try to provide that for them in school. And we still have a little bit of supervision of them, and we can still help them if they're struggling through the online courses.
Do we have any kids that are ready to do this?
Are we gonna market the program?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is we need to get it up and running first. And like I said, the next step is getting that teacher in here and get them introduced to the staff. And we don't want to start out by throwing 20 kids in there, but we want to continue to grow that program so that we can keep those kids in-house without losing them to TRECA. So.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion and a second for the treasurer's report? Approval now.
So moved.
It's cool. Any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Sheeper?
Yes.
Dr. Hope?
Yes.
Mr. Lipson?
Yes, and that has been approved as well. We do have an addendum to the agenda, which is next on our agenda, to approve that. It's for personnel classified staff. You've had an opportunity to see that. Do we have a motion to approve that addendum to the agenda?
So
Do we have a second?
Support.
Okay, roll call please.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
yes.
Mr. Schieffer?
Yes.
Dr. Hope?
Yes.
Mr. Lipscomb?
Yes. And that has been approved as well. Next, we have a presentation to the board, Safe Learning Environment Survey results and action plans by Mr. Henderson and Mrs. Stone, as well as Mr. Roll and Mr. Kim. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you. There might be some extra copy. Did it make it down to your end? Did you get did the copies come down that way? Okay.
If you don't.
There's some extra copies. Anybody else like a copy in the crowd? There's some extra copies there. Right in front of you there. There you go. Okay. What's in front of you? This is a Safe Learning Environment Survey. This was a survey. The reason we did this survey was we feel one of the basis for our education is that we want to make sure that we're providing a safe learning environment for our students. And the key to this is that we wanted to get the perspective of parents, staff members, students on whether we're achieving that goal. And part of the strategic plan, the Student Life Committee, was to not only address and study this dress code issue that everybody's familiar with what we're trying to study there, but the overall safety of the schools. And so last spring, we surveyed all of our students, K-12, all of our staff, K-12, and we had sent out in smoke signals a one-page survey that parents and community members could fill out, and it was self-addressed, self-stamped, and parents could and community members could put it in, fill it out, put it in the mail back to us. Unfortunately, we only received 68 out of 7,200 surveys. So we really didn't think we had a great sampling of our parents and community, but we do know we had a great sampling of our students since we surveyed everybody, and a great sampling of our staff. What we hope to learn is, once again, are we providing a safe learning environment for our kids? Is there areas that we can improve to make it a safer school? And what we did is we basically broke it into two different sets of questions. One was for the elementary age kids. Another set of questions was for the secondary age students, staff members, and parents. We felt that the elementary kids really maybe couldn't understand the scope of the questions we were asking our adults and our older kids. So the elementary question is a little bit simpler, okay? And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Roll at this time to explain a little bit about what we found out about the elementary survey. First was, we're going to talk about what the survey told us, and then the action plans that we put into place and continue to put into place to address the areas that we need to improve on.
Okay, the first part, the elementary, did you know, and these are results from the survey, 78% of our kindergarten through 5th grade students feel safe at school. Of the 22% that didn't feel safe at school, 72% didn't feel safe on the playground. Okay? 95% of our kindergarten through 5th grade students say that they have friends at school, and 89% of our kindergarten through 5th grade students say that they can talk to a teacher, school counselor, or principal. In response to that, elementary action steps, we have increased supervision and proximity, not only on the playground, but before and after school. We did have a Redmond rumor mill question that was posed to us, and in responding to that, when we talk about increased supervision, it's like, well, how many? It seemed, once we started to look at things, it seemed like quite a few. And actually, when we looked at where those folks were, where they were placed around our building and in proximity to their students, my response there was on a typical day, and that is pretty much every day, we have 30 staff members that are responsible both before and after school for student supervision duties. If you will, every educational aide is responsible for assistance, as well as at least one member of each of our grade level teaching staff. So each day, before and after school, there are 30 adults strategically placed around the school to help monitor and be responsible for our kids. Another thing that we are in the process of doing is finalizing playground rules, which will include expected behavior and consequences in line with the student code of conduct to meet the students' needs. That is something that we have been working with our educational aid staff, who provide a good amount of our playground supervision, but also our teaching staff. And as a matter of fact, just as recently as last week, we've continued to fine-tune our lunchtime supervision, for which we have to depend on our educational aides. And there are 6 folks out on the playground for each of our 4 lunchrooms, or lunch recesses, which is definitely an increase and a good amount of folks there. Finally, we continue to implement the positive behavior program, the positive behavior supports program that recognize and encourages students in appropriate behavior traits that include caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility. And Ms. Stuckman, who is with us this evening as a member of our audience, is a person that helped to implement that and continues to demonstrate that on a daily basis. And we start each of our mornings with what we hope is a welcoming group of announcements that includes our Bucyrus Elementary School Code of Conduct. It's pleasant to hear. I say I'd like you to repeat it after me, and I can state it, and I can hear the kids throughout the building restating that back. And our goal is very simply to continue to try to encourage that kind of a climate in our building.
Thanks, Mr. Roll. The first set of questions, once again, this was a response to the survey that our elementary students took. The next piece is survey questions that was asked of our secondary students, staff, and parents. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Henderson at this time to discuss a little bit about what we learned from the survey results and the action steps that we've taken to try to address the areas that we need to improve in.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball, members of the board. There were 4 questions from the survey that were specifically focused on secondary issues. And the first of those questions was asked of community members and teachers and staff, what is needed to make a safe learning environment? 69% of the students in grades 6 through 12 say the proper supervision of students is needed to make a safe learning environment. 93% of staff members said the same thing, as well as 90% of parents said that proper supervision is needed to make a safe learning environment. And what I'll address here a little bit later here in my discussion is how what action steps we are taking and planning to take to help with this issue of proper supervision throughout our school building. The next question was asked of the secondary community was, do you support our zero tolerance policy? And zero tolerance policy refers to 3 major violations in our school building, those being drug violations, weapons-related violations, and extreme acts of physical violence from student to student or student to staff member. 74% of our students support the zero tolerance policy, 91% of staff members support the zero tolerance policy, and 84% of parents support the zero tolerance policy, excuse me. The third question, and one that we're dealing with very closely now, was asked, do you feel that a district-wide dress code, for example, uniforms or campus wear, should be implemented? 85% of the students in grades 6 through 12 felt that a district-wide dress code should not be implemented. 73% of staff members feel a district-wide dress code should be implemented, and 53% of parents feel that a district-wide dress code should be implemented. And the last of the 4 questions that were specific to the secondary, do you feel that our learning you're learning, do you feel that you are learning, working, or are we providing a safe environment? 82% of the students felt that they are learning in a safe environment. 80% of staff members feel they are working in a safe environment, and 68% of parents in the district feel that we are providing a safe learning environment. So to address these 4 questions, some of the things that we're doing, some of the action steps that we're taking currently, in terms of the supervision of students, we're increasing supervision and proximity of staff in high traffic areas, along with investigating the use of adult volunteers to assist with the supervision. We require all of our staff members at class changes to be out in the hallways, be visible, be a presence, to help monitor, help myself and Mr. Dennison and Mr. Macera monitor the building for student safety. And along with that, we have staff members that have lunchtime duty that are down in the commons, and we try to have a principal or an assistant principal in the commons during all the lunch periods as well. We're also looking at how we can incorporate some of our community members and adult volunteers to help with assisting us with supervision in the hallway or the commons area as well. In regards to zero tolerance policy, this is implemented, as I mentioned, in cases where physical violence, dangerous weapons, or drugs are involved. This includes discipline of the student to the fullest extent that the Code of Conduct allows, along with state law in some situations. We have a good relationship with local law enforcement and juvenile courts in our building, and to that end, we do not hesitate to use them in situations where it is warranted. And that falls under the zero tolerance umbrella that we follow through on the secondary building. Currently, the Student Life Dress Code Subcommittee is studying the dress code policy. That includes an option of implementing a campus wear policy. Last evening, we had an open community forum at the secondary building that was very successful. We had a lot of very good dialogue, informative dialogue from the community on their feeling of what they feel we should do with our dress code, and we've taken their feedback and their information, and we're going to reconvene our dress code subcommittee to go over that information, hopefully prepare another open community forum, and continue with this investigation of dress code, whether or not to take what we currently have and shore it up a little bit, or implement a campus wear for our building. In regards to safe learning environment, we're implementing the Speak Truth to Power curriculum during our Redmond time and our English language arts and social studies curriculum. Received word that we were able to confirm through the work of Adam Stone, the speaker, gentleman by the name of Jamie Nabosny, that's going to come talk to our students and staff about bullying and his experience as a person who was bullied. And we're going to take his story, which is a lesson and lesson plan within the Speak Truth to Power curriculum, and teach our students about tolerance and bullying and conflict resolution through our Redmond time. And we're very excited to get those lessons kicked off here in the month of December. And finally, we've implemented over the past couple months a new bullying, harassment, and intimidation reporting form that students have access to, where they can document what issues they're facing, what people are bothering, what exactly is going on, and gives the administrators a track record, or a record-keeping step, as well as a way for students to feel that if they want help with a situation, they can document it and turn that into an administrator. We're also working on getting that form online for parents or students to be able to submit the form anonymously, or through our website, and be able to submit it directly to an administrator, so that we can help them with any situations that we're dealing with.
And just really in closing, this is really the work that Mrs. Stone and Mr. Henderson's been doing with the Student Life Committee. Very encouraged by the efforts that those two, along with the dress code subcommittee, the time that they've been putting in to investigate and provide information out to the community. The information up here is just the contact information with regards to upcoming student life meetings. We will have dress code subcommittee meetings prior to Monday, February 6th, but that's the next quarterly full student life committee meeting along with Monday, May 7th. So anybody interested in becoming part of this group, you're welcome to attend either of those upcoming meetings or both of those. Any questions on the Safe Schools Learning Survey or any of the action plans that we've been putting in place and working through through the information?
The bullying, harassment, intimidation report form, is that something that they are planning on implementing at the elementary level as well? Or is that something, or let me see, yes.
Well, let me jump in before
Yeah.
Ms. Roll does.
Yeah.
My experience is that the elementary kids have a harder time filling that document out as opposed to middle school or high school kids. Now, it may work for like some fifth graders or maybe the fourth grade, but it's pretty detailed form.
Okay.
To me, it not only gives the person who is being bullied or experiencing that an opportunity to write down all the facts, it helps as an administrator when you go to investigate that, the exact time, location, what's occurring, because once again, in order to be classified, it's competitive, and so it needs to be a certain level. It can't be just like, I don't like you. One day somebody says that to you, it has to be a repetitive type of situation. So to me, it helps with our tracking of the data. If we have ongoing situations, it's documented. And the nice thing is on the back of the form, the administrator has to write down how they're, what they've done as far as the actions taken, how it was investigated, discipline, if any, that was handed out. And that goes into a file the next time Mr. Lipscomb bothers me or has a bullying incident, I can pull out the old form to say, back on October 7th, this is what we talked about, this is what we agreed to, and you haven't followed through on that, thus this is your punishment. So I'm not sure if that's something that can be implemented or rolled out at the elementary level, but what type of investigator or report form that they want to use. So.
Right, we've watched their, I guess we'll say, development of it, the implementation of it. It would be a more mature level form, as front and back, very detailed. It would be one that, now, I guess one thing that we may possibly be able to do is implement that, if you will, with the assistance of our administrators to go through and help fill that out. Right now, what I guess we'll say the practice that we are following is that there's more direct communication from our students and or our parents directly to us to give us the initial information, which we then investigate. If you will, along the same lines of the policy. The same steps are taken, but it's done more with, I guess we'll say, with some assistance on the part of our administrative staff.
And I can understand. I can understand that the kids would have. The younger kids would have difficulty. I'm thinking also for the parents. The parents will hear what happens to the kid during the day. And I know that that's happened. That I'll hear stories from Sarah, and maybe it might be something that I think that's happening on a regular basis, and that I want to report that, hey, this is really happening on there. Maybe I don't have time to call, or maybe I can't. Do that type of thing during the day if you're working or something like that. But it's a form that they, if we do have it online, it might be beneficial to those parents as well to be able to help those kids. So the kids, not only will the parents have a feeling outlet that they can report the bullying, but also show the kids, this is the type of behavior that is considered. Some kids don't realize what's bullying.
And see, and I think that's part of the guidance that provides us with the opportunity to do, both for our students and our parents, is that, if you will, each and every expression of concern that comes to our attention is documented, is investigated, is filed, and if you will, in terms of, I guess I would say, textbook cases of bullying, we have had one this year that, we've had one circumstance this year that very simply, each of the steps of the, bullying, harassment, sexual harassment policy, boom, boom, boom. Steps were right there, and we acted on it. And the other part that was a very big part of this was the informing of the parents of the offender and the parents of the offendee, which we're required to do in writing and all of that thing. So we're doing the same exact thing, following the same policy, and I guess I'll say, but at a more age-appropriate level.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions at all? Thank you very much. Bring us that information, and I'm sure we'll be visiting that time and time again.
By the way, we also are going to be posting this information. We did a, what you call mock presentation today. Filmed it, and so that this information through a mock presentation will be available on our website also to communicate those results.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, we'll go on to the next part of our agenda here, accommodations. Superintendent Kimmel, would you?
Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to have Mrs. Showers come up and help me present these two accommodations tonight.
We have two guests this evening. We have Christina Fox from Rotary, she's our president, and Virginia Hammondtree, she's also part of the Rotary. And this evening we're here to recognize their great work that they did in a partnership with Bucyrus Elementary School. It started with a need, which happens to be our students in the district. And the idea was to have a fish fry during the Bratwurst Festival. And it was very, very successful. We had volunteers in the district, starting with our own Rotarians. We had teachers and aides and secretaries, principals, assistant principals, and even our superintendent was there to help out. We had parents there. We had a lot of fun doing what we did, and we had so much fun that it generated a vast amount of money to be put towards our backpack program, which you've all heard about that, and also for our positive behavior support program that Mr. Rowe was talking about with Mrs. Stuckman. And just to give you an idea how much money was produced from this, for the positive behavior support program, we generated $1,370.23. That was given to the Bucyrus Elementary PTO. And with that, Mrs. Stuckman is buying all kinds of games and incentives and prizes for students who show good behavior, the qualities that Mr. Roll was talking about. And I think it's made a good impact. I was talking to her about that today. And there's something on the blog, I think on the district website or blog, in response to a parent on how the program is run. Going to be, okay. All right. And with the backpack program, to give you an idea, there was $1,500 that was given to the Salvation Army, and then in turn they purchased the food and backpacks that we deem necessary for the program. That's done through Lori Pennington back there, Food Service, who also has gotten us a Dexel grant to help out with the backpack program. So thank you ladies so much, because you put a lot of time and effort in this. With the backpack program, we're currently having 64 backpacks that we pack each week, serving 90 of our students at the elementary and at the middle school level 2, and that comprised of 38 families. So without that, some of our students would not have anything to eat during the weekend. Maybe you've heard a story about one of our parents at the elementary. The parent gave up her food for the weekend so her daughter would have something to eat. So there's truly a need out there. Without our Rotarians, I don't think we'd be able to do what we do for our students in the district. So ladies, we thank you so much, and the Rotary Club of Bucyrus as well. It just took a whole village to do what we needed to do. And we're going to have fun again this coming Bratwurst Festival, August 16th, 17th, and 18th. Is that right? I think those are the dates. Yes, it is. So come back for that. It was a great, great fish fry, perch. And people keep asking about it again when we're going to have it, and we're going to return and continue our partnership with Bucyrus Elementary School. So with that, ladies, thank you.
With that, on behalf of the Bucyrus State Schools and Board of Education, we'd like to present the certificate here to the Rotary Club of Bucyrus. The first one is for your generous donation to the BES Positive Behavioral Support Program.
Thank you.
And the other one is also to the Rotary Club for their generous donation of the backpack program. So thank you very much.
We do start to get into the business end of more of the business end of our stuff as well too. So if you would like to leave, you're more than welcome to as well, because I know this is very interesting, but it may not be as interesting to you as well. It is time. I'm taking a picture. It is time for our committee reports. We'll start with the legislative report. Mrs. Stone?
I have no report tonight, and Dr. Johnson and I was talking, that might be a good thing. Maybe they're not doing anything in Columbus, I don't know. And if they're not doing anything, it could be a good thing, so.
Okay. Thank you very much. Athletics, Dr. Johnson.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Schieffer.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, winter sports program is underway, and we wish our student athletes and coaches all the best. The athletic council met last Monday evening, and at that time several topics were discussed. Our financial report. It's nice to know that our athletic sports programs are operating within budget. Some other topics we discussed. The reverse raffle, which was recently held, our boosters raised, I think, $10,000 of profit, and so it was very successful. And thank Mr. Jeffrey and those who participated in that. We also discussed league affiliation, and we had some interesting discussion on that. Other areas, the grading policy that the board made a change on several meetings ago. I think it's encouraging that to report that we've actually been able to help approximately 7 students who wouldn't have been able to participate in sports by making that change. So I want to compliment Mr. Jeffrey for his efforts with that, and also our administrators and teachers for tracking and working with the students in this area. One other area that we talked about was also the wellness coordinator. We're going to reconvene the group that's been involved with that, and after probably, I believe, sometime either coming up in this next month in December. But one thing that I was encouraged with was that when some of the board members attended the High School Boards Association convention earlier this month, one particular breakout session that I attended was presented by Mount Vernon City Schools, which they had their PEP Grant Wellness Coordinator program, which they have been working with. And it was encouraging to know that there is an outside revenue stream that we could go after, which the board and the district did have previously several years back, which was the Carol White Grant. And it was just nice to see how they have taken what they are doing there, sharing it with those in attendance, and how that could actually, we could bring that back and try to look to see if we can also go after securing the Carol White Grant again. I was encouraged to talk with some of the Sodexo representatives at the School Boards Association as well, and they actually expressed an interest in working with the district as well at trying to write a grant that would maybe bring more of a holistic approach, not only kind of working with phys ed, but also bringing in the wellness, the nutrition piece into it as well. So It's some things for us to consider as we go forward, but at least we're looking to put a wellness coordinator position. We know that we're going to have to use outside revenue for that, so it's something for us to be considering in the future. So that concludes my report.
Any questions for Mr. Schieffer at all on sports? Also, if you didn't check your email today or haven't checked your email, there was an email sent out about the possible for the little sports, the winter sports sponsorship. If you want to put a line in there, they've extended the deadline till noon tomorrow. So if you want to, you need to contact Mr. Fisher on that then as well. Pioneer, Mrs. Stone.
Pioneer met last Monday, and it was basically business as usual for this time of year. Nothing,
Spectacular.
yeah.
Okay. Any questions at all for Mrs. Stone? Student achievement, Dr. Johnson.
Well, as you can tell from our discussion tonight, there are always many challenges facing school districts and administrators and staff and parents and students, but with the release of the ODE Performance Index rankings several weeks ago, I don't think there can be any question about what our main focus needs to be in this district, and that is student achievement. And of course, the thing that impacts that the most, that makes the most difference, is the quality of instruction in the classroom. And so as we face this financial crisis, if you will, and our need to improve the academic achievement of our students, we always need to be mindful that whatever time, resources, energy that we have, we need to focus on that. That is the most important thing. And that concludes my report. More of a comment than a report.
Any questions for Dr. Johnson? Okay, wellness, Dr. Hope.
There was a wellness meeting, I think, a couple Fridays ago, and I guess the task has been put to us to update our policies, and there should be coming some presentation to the board here the next month or so. We're just asking to get some templates and try to take it and fit in all the new questions or the new nuances that we have that we're responsible for, of which is going to be BMIs, management, health, nutrition, all these type of issues that blend into what Doug's saying with wellness. And I think the fact that we're taking our wellness and our fitness and we're putting it together and trying to make it available for our students and our community. Hopefully we can, again, we have to get outsourced resources for them. I think there's great opportunities in Sodexo. She's not here, but they have done, they're very involved with this, and I think they're helping us with the grant writing that Doug was mentioning. So I mean, Lori's just done a wonderful job for us, and I just wanted to keep complimenting her hard work. So and that's my report.
Okay, any questions for Dr. Hope on wellness? Okay, Mr. Brian Gerger, student representative.
Hi, first of all, I just want to give my apologies for not attending the meeting last night regarding dress code. I was tied up in basketball practice. I have been the past few weeks. It's been pretty rigorous, but I do wish to attend one of those in coming months. I did go back to school. I know my last survey wasn't very reliable because of my surveying seniors, which wasn't smart on my part. But I went back to school and did a random survey of random freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, whether it was up at the door or throughout the hallways during school day. I asked 50 students at random, and I had 17 said that they wouldn't mind the dress code, the new campus wear policy. 33 said no. Other than that, I don't have much info except for information from juniors at our Redmond times that we have at the school. The majority do not wish to have the dress code. The ones that did said they don't mind it. They don't mind what we got forms that had guidelines on them. They didn't realize that this campus wear was going to be so strict. They said they wish to maybe maybe have it still, have the dress code, just maybe tone down some of the rules regarding that. That's all I have on the dress code. On another note, I had an issue I brought up last meeting about student attendance at winter sports events. And I believe that it's going to be better than we had thought. These first two girls' home basketball games, the turnouts in the student section was really well. I don't know if Mr. Jeffers noticed, but we have a small group of seniors showing some great leadership, planning events, having theme nights, and it's going to be a really good season, I think. And that's all.
Question for you, Mr. Gerber. Do you feel that the students are, the whole dress code issue, do you feel that there's ample discussion going on amongst the students now? Do you think that that's a topic that that they're willing to, that information's starting to get out there and that dialogue's starting to happen?
There is. The Redmond time was very productive. We got a lot of information. My personal Redmond time teacher was Mr. Rawson, and we did get a lot of discussion back and forth. Some people for it, some people against it, and it turned out really well. So I think the students are better informed. They understand what's going on now.
Do you feel that the students think this is a done deal, or that it's an open dialogue?
Some do. There are teachers trying to tell them that our input is still wanted. Like was said before, it's not a done deal. We do have a say. Feedback is needed. So hopefully more students can come to the meetings perhaps and give their feedback.
Please continue to help spread the word that it's not a done deal and that we're valuing the input of not only the students but the staff members and the community members and parents.
I will do so.
Thank you.
I know that Sarah came home today and said that their classes discussed it as well today. So I mean, of course, we're talking the fifth graders going up to the elementary school, but still, there's still some discussion in the elementary buildings about that as well. So which is good too. The kids need to all be involved in it too. So.
Any further questions for Mr. Gerber there? Okay, thank you very much. Superintendent's report.
Actually, I'm going to pass right now with the Safe Schools survey and what's coming up in discussion items. I'll have plenty of opportunities to speak during this time.
Okay, great. The next item on our agenda is the opportunity to address the board. If anyone would like to address the board at this time, you're more than welcome to. If not, we will go ahead and move on to our business items today. We'll start with the personnel certified staff.
President Lipscomb, members of the board, it is recommended under personnel certified items that you approve items A through E.
Which are in front of you right there. Do I have a motion to? Okay.
Second.
Okay, great. And any discussion under these items? Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Schiefer?
Yes.
Dr. Hope?
Yes.
Mr. Lipscomb?
Yes, and those have been passed. Superintendent Kimmel, the personnel classified staff.
President Lipscomb, member of the board, it's recommended under personnel certified that you approve items A through D.
So moved.
Support.
Great. Any discussion on any of those items on the personnel classified staff? A through D.
Just on A,
Yes.
I just think, Joe Klingenberger has been with the track program for quite a few years and has been one tremendous supporter of Bucyrus' athletic programs. And I just think a personal thank you letter to him for all of his efforts would be very much in order.
Okay, so noted. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Schiefer?
Yes.
Dr. Hope?
Yes.
Mr. Lipscomb?
Yes, And those items have been approved. We have the business items. Mr. Quinlan?
President Lipscomb, members of the board, under business items, it's recommended the Board of Education approve items A through F.
Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And discussion. Any discussion on any of those items right there? If not, roll call, please.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Sheeper?
Yes.
Dr. Hope?
Yes.
Mr. Lipscomb?
Yes, and those have been approved. Now it's time for our discussion part. I guess we'll go ahead and start on number A there, athletic league affiliation.
Mr. Jeffrey is here with me tonight. Feel free to jump in at any point. We were notified about 6 weeks ago that some of the schools in the current 10-team NCC makeup were interested in breaking off from the current league and starting a new league. And the discussion was quite shocking because at that time we were only 2 months into the new 10-team league. Now, if you remember correctly, we left the NOL for the NCC about 10 years ago after quite a bit of discussion and dialogue with our community members over a course of 6 months. It was brought to the board one time, turned back, said go back and study it again and get the community involved. And at that point, we got 30 community members involved in a committee to take a look at this and study it. I remember that we had 10 that was in favor of staying in the NOL, 10 that were in favor of going to the NCC, 10 that were undecided before we started the study. It was a big move because Bucyrus had played 54 years in the NOL. So it was a big move for our community, even though it had been talked about and discussed for several years. Appreciate Mr. Ham putting that on my plate as a first or second year athletic director at that time. But with that being said, the committee took a look at everything from travel to sports to the percent of their students taking part in athletics to, I mean, we asked every question and came up with every fact that we could to try to make an informed decision. We took a vote at the end of that study with the committee, and there was 29 that voted in favor of moving, none that voted against moving, 1 abstained. We presented that information to the Board of Education. They passed a resolution to leave the NOL after 54 years and join an 8-team NCC. At that time, we were the 8th team. We played in that current NCC league for 8 years, and then the discussion came up about continually to expand the NCC. Received indication from Upper Sandusky and Gowning about joining the NCC, making a 10-team league. To us, it was a no-brainer. We bring in 2 of our rivals from the NOL. Travel-wise, gate-wise, was a no-brainer for Bucyrus. And so we were sitting pretty there for a while thinking that we had the best of both worlds. Crawford County connections, NOL old rivals. And so we played a couple years there at the end of the 8-team NCC, knowing that Gowning, anticipating that Gowning and Upper coming in to start this fall. Bought banners, thought that this was going to be a long time. Never really anticipated that the league ever breaking up. And shortly after, we had a couple additional schools express an interest in moving up to the 12-team league. Some of the bigger schools weren't interested in the travel of some of the schools that they were talking about adding, and the small schools got discouraged because they thought all along that the anticipation was that this league would continue to grow. So in a matter of about a meeting or two, things were done and things were said, and all of a sudden the NCC is breaking apart. And there's not much that could have been done to patch it up. So where we stand today is the current NCC as we know it will not exist after the next 2 years. They'll continue to play the rest of this 2011, 2012, 2012, 2013, and 2013, 2014, but starting with 14, 15, this league will no longer be in existence. which puts Bucyrus in a unique position because the small schools in the NCC are looking to move one direction, and the bigger schools are kind of out in the middle of nowhere. We're right in the middle of that. We're not necessarily a big school, but we're not considered a small school. The discussion and dialogue that's taking place is that there's 5 current NCC schools, along with 3 MAL schools and a Marion County school that's considering developing a new league. Bucyrus has an opportunity to move that direction if they'd like. It'd be a 10-team, 1-division league. We would maintain connections with some Crawford County schools that we currently have. And that, through a lot of discussion with the athletic director, the high school principals, the athletic council, is a direction that we're recommending that our school district takes. So I guess tonight I'd open it up for questions that you folks might have. There is going to be a meeting December 1st of the 10 proposed teams to be in this new league, potentially called the Northern 10. And our high school athletic director and high school principal are going to be attending that meeting and looking for any questions or directions or comments that the board has with regards to that move.
Will we be considered one of the bigger schools in this?
In this setup, we would be the biggest.
How long are they gonna like us for that?
Well, we have
Hey,
continued,
it's-
our enrollments continue to decline. And the enrollment numbers, which I know Mr. Jeffrey has and is able to share, but the gap is not very large. I mean, yes, we are the biggest school. The league that we would be going to looks very, very similar to the NCC that we left the NOL for. The difference is that it would not include, Ontario would not include Lucas. And then there would be some additional schools from the NAL.
What's our travel?
Our travel would actually be,
Marion County.
our travel would actually be less
It'd be 17 miles one way.
average. And actually, it's funny how my perceptions have changed as my jobs have changed, and the financial decisions are weighing very heavily on my mind right now. And thinking about cost of gasoline, cost of paying a bus driver, the anticipated revenue from bigger gates playing schools that are closer to us. Even from a student achievement standpoint, of putting kids on a bus in midweek and potentially drive an hour and a half or 2 hours to a school is something that I really cringe to think about doing. You know, middle school events typically take place, you know, during the week, and if there's a 5 o'clock basketball game, you know, south of Delaware, that's going to be difficult to be getting kids home at 10:30 at night, junior high wise, and turn right around and be at school next morning at 7:30. So the alternative, if we don't move this direction, may involve some connections with some of our local school districts that we've had relationships with, but the unknown is those extra schools. Where's that team number 5, team number 6, team number 7, or school? Where are those going to come from? And our concern is that they may be quite a bit of ways travel-wise. So.
And just on a personal note, I'm very disappointed that they didn't even give this new league format a chance. I think it's sad. I
Agree
think
100%.
it's very sad.
Well, I'm just disappointed by the process. I mean, there's a process for doing things, and this is definitely the tail wagging the dog. And I don't think that's how we should be looking at, we're going in the future, look at finances, looking where we're going as a district. We need to hold our head up, we need to go forward, and we need to say, this is what we're going to do, put it all on the table. This seems sort of I don't like the appearance of how this took place. Now that, you know, if we go into this new district, there better be some rules where this is not going to happen again, and everybody's going to be included, and there's not going to be a perceived planning of, we're just gonna get together and talk, and it turns into a reality. I think this is what everybody sort of is offended by in the public, and you just can't have certain people making plans and then appearances of this is what we came to. I just don't understand that process. I don't understand why it was allowed, and I will comment on the other districts saying, I don't know why they allowed this to take place also, because it usurps all their abilities, you have a structure, the structure is set to go through a process. This appears to have none of that. And I just think it's I don't want to destroy the whole thing, but on the other hand, maybe I do. It does not appear to be a fair perceived process, and it didn't take its time. It didn't go through the deliberation you needed to come to that. Now, all that being said, I don't think we have any other choices other than what you've presented. And I think to come into an NOL situation again where we're traveling, it seems like it's very cost ineffective.
Everything you said is exactly right. The only policies and procedures that are set up is a 2-year notice to the league that they're leaving. Nobody is breaking that rule, policy and procedure wise. It does not make it right that some of the school districts have chosen to start the discussion dialogue and breaking off and starting a league before they gave the current league an opportunity to address their concerns and needs. They feel that they had done that. They have felt that over the years, they said that the statement from the NCC is that we were going to continue to grow. When we added Upper Sandusky and Gallion 2.5 years ago, small schools continually said, we need this for us to survive. We need this league to continue to grow. And when we were approached earlier in the fall about 2 schools having potential of wanting in the league, when there was some hesitation on some of the bigger schools' standpoint, they sent that as a real clear message that this league would not grow beyond the 10 teams. So they felt they had no choice other than to move a different direction. And I'm not defending the work that they did. I'm very upset that the lack of communication and the openness of this didn't occur. One thing that we did do when we left the NOL, we were upfront and honest with everybody from day one. We tried to get the NOL to expand for years. When it was real clear that that wasn't anything that was going to be accepted, we told them from day one that this isn't working for us. We need to move a different direction. We said that in an open public meeting with the league prior to contacting any school district, any league. That is not how this had happened in this current league. And the superintendents are so concerned that the 10 superintendents of this proposed league met Monday afternoon, not to try to undermine or take the place of the work that the athletic directors or principals do, but to sit down and have a clear discussion of how important it is to have a long-term commitment and how important and concerned we are to make sure that it's a principal-run league, not an athletic director-run league, and that's no offense to our athletic director or the athletic directors of the NCC. But the one difference between the NOL and the NCC, I will tell you, everybody knows, is the lack of professionalism or the level of professionalism. And the biggest difference I've seen is the principals in the NOL met monthly. The ADs met at 9 o'clock, the principals came in and met at 10 o'clock every single month. In the NCC, the principals meet 3 times a year. So it's more of an athletic director-run league, which, once again, I'm not downplaying or bashing any athletic directors, because I was one for a lot of years. But they don't always, I think, sometimes in some of the authorities take into consideration the Board of Education, the members of the community, the parent, everything that goes into a league switch.
With the old NOL, I remember very distinctly, and the superintendents met 1 o'clock. And rarely did we ever talk about athletics because it was that well run. Our conversations, guess what, focused on academics. Okay?
And that's the same thing that we're proposing doing in the proposed league, is that the superintendents have an opportunity to meet and have dialogue. And it's, like I said, once again, not to undermine the work that the people that we put in those positions to do, but just to make sure that from that level, we're all staying together and having open communication.
And everybody needs to realize, everybody's got a boss. And I think that's an important message to convey. I find it very ironic that in the first year of this league, we have 2 teams, one advanced to the quarterfinals of the state football tournament. One is still in, and now it's being disbanded. And I agree with Grant. I don't know how many times I've said it sitting here. Process is as important as product, and it's a reflection of leadership. And I certainly hope going forward that that needs to be recognized. And it's not recognized by the A's and principals, that it is by the superintendents. Having said that, given the alternatives that we're presented with, I do think joining this new league at Northern 10 or whatever it is in the best interest of our students. Having a basketball player involved in basketball, obviously, I think it makes sense. But again, I'm not happy with the way it went down. I do have another concern, and that is that this rivalry in football, especially between Bucyrus and Galleon, somehow remain intact. Because in terms of longevity, that's got to rival Ohio State, Michigan. And that needs to.
I think Tom can speak to that.
That's already been discussed. That's already in the process of being discussed. If this were to go down, and this is exactly what's going to happen. We play Galleon in week 1 in 2014 and thereafter. That's been discussed between the coaches and myself and the coach. They're in a unique situation where their AD's kind of part-time, he's on vacation right now, so we haven't had a chance to communicate with him. But we've communicated with Coach Hawkins, and they're on board with that. And I agree with you 100%. You're playing for the skin or trophy. You can't not play them. And that's what we're talking about doing in this league, is playing 9 league games, only 1 league
Right.
game.
And to me, that's almost a deal breaker for me if that didn't happen.
And I will speak, I have had several dialogues with all of our coaches, invited them to meetings. I know Dr. Johnson and Mr. Schieffer attended the last one that was about 15, 16 coaches there, at the last one. And there are probably 2 or 3 coaches adamantly against going with the group, but I think the consensus of the group, all the conversations I've had, is they understand and what's best interest as far as gate revenue. I have a whole presentation that you're more than welcome, if you want me to present to the board, I can. I didn't think that this was the venue as far as average travel of the proposed league and so forth, and revenues, who our biggest revenues are in basketball, girls basketball, boys basketball, girls basketball, football, volleyball, all our revenue sports and those kind of things. But yeah, and average number of students per boys in the league, girls in the league, and so forth. But yeah, I mean, I've been receiving phone calls about leagues. Seems like a new one every day for over probably an 8 to 10 week period now. And you know, it's unfortunate where this has been, but you know, I've got a lot of good relationships in the league currently we have, and it's just unfortunate where this came from. And I don't disagree with what anybody has said tonight.
I agree with everything, you know, you guys have said, so I'm not gonna repeat it. But the one thing, you know, in talking about the process and everything that's going on, you know, I'm gonna have a hard time supporting this if we don't have a process like that that's already in place. If it's gonna be athletic directors, the principals meet once every 3 months, or the way it was run in the NCC, I think we're just setting ourselves up for another disaster. And I would rather us avert that disaster and do something else if that's the case. But if it's a well-run league, then that's something I would support.
I don't,
But
I agree. I mean, we don't have, really, what choice do we have? We've been backed into a corner.
yeah,
What choice do we? We do.
But, you know, this is so distasteful.
It makes me
And-
sick.
You know, you're shocked that it's come to this so quickly, to a league that really just is getting adjusted to having 2 new teams coming into it. And the process, as we, you know, what process? The lack process. It's something as educators who were in control of this decided to do something that you wouldn't necessarily teach in a classroom to children. And the financial piece, I understand. But something that is not good to start with making this change. you know, you're hopeful that it will be something good in the end. But, you know, you feel for the teams that are now scampering, or the schools that are scampering now for where they're gonna end up, who trusted in the process initially to come into this league and thought that this was gonna be a league. And those who orchestrated this, you know, hopefully that, I'm glad that you weren't a part of that. But I do compliment Mr. Kimmel, you, Mr. Jeffrey, you, and also Mr. Henderson, you, for your part in keeping our options open and not having this, I mean, once you found out what was going on, acting as you did to find out why and what role we, you know, what was our future going to be. So I do appreciate very much that. But this is still a bitter pill to swallow and to, but
One of the characteristics we try to teach our students is integrity. The ends never justify the means, but we look at what we have here, and we have just that situation. And I agree, Doug, it's very good taste.
Everything that all of you have said tonight has been not only communicated very clearly with the administration of all of the current NCC schools, but it's been conveyed with the potential members of the new league. And I told them, I said, this is a very bitter pill, as you said, for our community, for Board of Education, for our administration to be able to swallow. You know, I have a lot of respect and am where I am today in part because of the work of the people like Don Cooper. You know, if I didn't follow his successful footsteps, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And he basically ran that NCC, and now that Ontario's out, there's nowhere to go. You know, the ties and relationships that we have with Galley and Upper Sandusky, that was so important when we left the NOL to the NCC to ensure that we continue to play them and everything, and keep those relationships going, and felt in part that we're part of the reasons why they joined the NCC, and now to turn our back on that, that's very tough. You know, that's nothing that can be, you know, replaced, and so those relationships are it's very difficult. This last 3 months have been very difficult dealing
this
with
kind of
this.
also flies in the face of 2020 and the vision that they have for the county and the community in general, as far as the collaboration and working together, those relationships on where you want to take, which your schools are a very big part of. And you hope you have those relationships that are professional and also those that are trusted.
And that's what I was gonna bring up. I mean, where's the trust factor in here? I can't imagine starting this off, but there's gonna be a level of trust anywhere for a long, long time. Because once you lose trust, I think we all know it takes years to get that back.
And I just want to second what Doug said. I appreciate the leadership that you folks have shown. And I hope that leadership emerges in this new league. And I think, not to put any pressure on Mr. Kimmel, but gee whiz, you know, you've been an AD, coach, principal, now a superintendent. So I think you certainly could offer a unique perspective on the right way to do things.
And you know, unfortunately, when this first started to roll out, you know, things are ringing through my head about how much involvement could I step in and try to fix things. Comments you made about half an hour ago rings true to me. There's nothing more important than the student achievement in our district and the PI rankings and what we're doing with classroom instruction. And so it's a balancing act. Do I walk away from that and offer time and efforts to try and keep our nose clean in the NCC, and so that's a balancing act.
Shouldn't have to.
Shouldn't have to. So, but I will tell you, I have trust and faith in the work that Mr. Jeffrey's doing and what he's done and what he's going to do, and along with Mr. Henderson, and I will be here to help support and guidance in whatever role I can as a superintendent. But it's obviously near and dear to my heart. The last final, we're still meeting as an NCC. Ontario has deferred using their site as a meeting site anymore. So we've opened up this room actually to have our athletic director and principals meetings, and which gives me a unique opportunity to slide in and observe and comment if needed to, and so we're going to continue to offer that because we want to not only enter this new league in a first-class manner like we left the NOL to the NCC. We want to lead the NCC in a first-class manner. And so, you know, I think we all understand kind of where we're at and what we need to do. I guess verbally what I'm asking for is permission or you know, at least be able to allow Mr. Jeffrey and Mr. Henderson to proceed in having meetings and keep our options open for this new league. So I guess verbally that I'm not asking for a board action tonight to leave the NCC. I'm not asking for board action to enter a new league, simply to allow an opportunity for us to continue to investigate our options with regards to this new league.
Any objections to that or anything like that? I said it's not a vote, but it's just an investigation.
I have no objection.
No, but I'm telling you, if something starts stinking, yeah, bury it.
Can we use that quote?
You got that quote down?
Starts stinking.
Facebook, when something starts sinking.
Do know that we will be asking for board action in the future for a resolution to give me, Mr. Henderson, Mr. Jeffrey, the authority to notify the NCC of bus leaving and the authority for us to move that direction if we continue to see it progress and become a reality. So, thank you.
Thank you. Second item is the Student Life Committee Dress Code Subcommittee. And the meeting we had last night and everything like that. What kind of feedback did you experience in your groups or anything like that?
I was a facilitator. My group was very interesting. I had a couple people that wanted to really take charge to the point where I was looking at another lady sitting there, and she said, "Why are you looking at me?" And I'm like, "Because you haven't said anything, and I want to know how you feel." And she never did say anything until it was over. Then she came to me and she said, "I'm for it." She said, "I'm fine with it. I'm the parent. You know, and if this is the way it needs to be, then I agree with it." But I don't know how, probably, you guys probably weren't facilitators, but since I was on the committee, I found that very interesting. I had a couple staff members in there that, you know, were trying to get their points across, but two of the ladies were very, very, very adamant and strong. And it was real hard for anybody else, as much as I tried to, you know, to get other people involved. It was very hard for me to get them involved, I think because they were halfway scared. I don't know. But I think it was a good evening. I think we had a nice turnout. From what I talked to other people, a lot of their tables were split. I don't know how the rest of your tables were.
I had a large group.
I saw that.
Probably about 30.
Oh, there were supposed to be 5 or 6.
Well, I think they all went for gun informed. I had some very upset people with me asking me why I'm doing this. This is a done deal. I had a guy sitting on his edge of his chair shaking his finger at me. And, you know, I didn't look at it going into this as this is what we're doing. You guys provide us feedback. I thought it was try to be open and upfront and ask for community input. But it was clear that a few of the folks had made up their mind that this was the direction that we were already headed, regardless of how many times I wanted to say that this is open discussion and dialogue, and that we're doing what we said we were going to do, and that's work the plan. And as I said in that meeting, it didn't say that we have to adopt a policy. It says it needs to be studied. And overwhelming number were against it. It was dominated by the ones that were negative towards it. Towards the end, a few of the positive people started to speak up, but they were definitely overwhelmed by the negativeness of our group. As far as now, even those that were negative for the group, or negative for the dress code, a few of them made some very valid comments, and I took quite a few good notes. And we had some folks show up last night with 3-4 page typed responses prior to the information even being given to them. So I've only received one email since then, but hopefully we'll continue to get feedback from folks that were either at the meeting or weren't able to attend the meeting. And I could go on, but I think that the best thing to do is to gather all that information, all the notes and everything that was gathered last night, have an opportunity to share that out with this dress code subcommittee. Our group had a good suggestion. They felt that, geez, Mr. Kimball, having 68 out of 7,200 isn't a very good sampling. How about putting out a survey again to focus just on dress code and have it so that, and I said, how about this? Because I'm not sure that it would make it home. Because they said, well, hand it out to the kids, tell them to take it home, fill it out with their parent, and then bring it back. And I'm not sure how many of those would make it home, but I think it would make it home if I picked up the phone and had a School Connects call out to the parents and saying, hey, today at school, your son or daughter received a survey. Please look for that, fill it out with your son or daughter, and please return it back to us tomorrow or on Monday or whatever. I think we'll get a much larger return come back. And I think that if nothing else, I think folks are really seeing that we're wanting input. I mean, you get 100, 120 people to a meeting, that's tremendous. And so I think a combination of the letters going home, the discussion dialogue we've been having, the School Connects call that went out Sunday night and inviting people to meet, I think all those things are good so that we can make a wise decision going forward based on the information we're hearing.
I just like, from my perspective, first of all, to commend Mr. Roll, because he did a terrific job in facilitating. He didn't come with any agenda. He listened. He respected people's input because he wrote everything everybody said down on one sheet of paper.
Very nice person writing.
And that really added to, I think we went through the questions and people gave the positives and the negatives, and I don't think anybody felt that they couldn't speak or were shouted over. And that's just really important in the process. Beyond that, I think what I heard was a desire, whether it's this dress code or policy, whatever it is, what it seems like people at my table wanted something that was simple, straightforward, posted, easily enforced,
consistently
enforced.
Yeah.
I think there was some concern about how specific some of the things were in this proposed policy. And I guess the best example of that from my perspective was the two girls that got up to model. If everybody came like that every day, that'd be wonderful, right? But even they didn't meet the criteria on the dress code because the way it's written right now, it says clearly you have to have a button-down shirt or a polo underneath, and I don't think either one did. That's beside the point. The point is they look great, and that's what we're after. And the question is how we get there without a lot of time on the part of the administration being spent and all that. But I thought it went well.
Yeah. I heard a lot of good feedback. I can't tell you how many people, even that were in favor of the policy, really worried about the tucked-in shirt piece. Because they said, really, those, students that struggle with weight and stuff, tucking it in really gives them an image, problem. So, they were concerned about that. I heard the tucked-in piece throughout the night, and then email-wise from somebody that's very supportive of the dress code policy, but they said, please lighten up the tucking shirt piece. So.
And those are things you never think about until you get people with different perspectives.
Yeah, I thought overall it was a very well attended, and the feedback, just listening to the parents and their comments, as far as you can tell, they're very concerned with the dress code itself now, how it's enforced, and just wanting some consistency going forward. But yeah, for the most part, they weren't sure on how this was going to really affect whether or not it was going to make any real positive changes. But and they were kind of not quite split. They were more negative about making the change. But I want to compliment Mr. Jeffrey's wife, who actually, Amy, who actually led the group, and it
I
was
don't know how
a little
he-
testy with some of the people at the table sometimes, but she did very well.
I don't know how he got her, but she's a gem.
We'll keep them around us.
That's right.
I think the overwhelming, at least at the table, Grant was at my table too, the overwhelming, whether it was positive or negative, it was the enforcement too. Very consistent enforcement. If we can stay within the same dress code, the enforcement. The other thing too that I found was very interesting, at least from my perspective, were the amount of information that people had prior to this meeting, okay, of what the dress code really was. Because some of the things I heard, I'm going, where did you get that idea, okay? And then even, I hate to use my daughter once again as an example, but she comes home, Dad, why, first of all, in her 5th grade mind, whatever her friends were, the decision had already been made, and that they were either gonna have to leave their hair long or wear it in a bun. That was the only 2 options right there. So I don't know where they got that in the past thing there, but I mean, the information that's out, whether it's in there, we need to continue to let the people know exactly what is in here and what's going on. She's completely scared about having her hair in a bun, or leaving it long. So, just making sure that whatever we're doing is all very consistent, and we make sure that the information continues to get out in a very positive manner as to exactly what we're looking at, and not all this other stuff that's in there as well.
One other big thing that I heard, that people want to be able to make sure their kids can wear their Bucyrus Redmond stuff. They talked about how much money they spend on, the Redmond shirts and all that kind of stuff, and sweatshirts and things like that. And they are right. I mean, that is a moneymaker for some of our sports and boosters and stuff like that. And I can, that might be something we might want to look at.
But it sounded pretty consistently through all of the committees, stuff that I've read with the notes and what I'm hearing tonight is that we're not helping ourselves out, we're not implementing consistently the policy we have now.
Exactly.
And, it's a real struggle because with 67 teachers in that secondary building, you have 67 different opinions of what's acceptable and not acceptable. And, to some of them, when a kid does get sent to the office, it's at the end of the day, you ask yourself or ask the question, who's your 1st block, 2nd block, and 3rd block teacher that didn't see this violation? And when the questions asked those teachers, they simply say, I wasn't looking for that. I'm teaching my class, and it's not a distraction for me. Now, I don't know how you argue against that. You're doing what you should be doing, that's instructing the class and teaching the kids. But at the same point, if we're not cautious to what the kids are wearing, and I'll split it on both ways. I don't think we help ourselves out. I don't think we help ourselves out as if indeed, like a student or a community member told me last time in our group, well, I know that the administration does not support the teachers with the dress code. I said, what are you talking about? Well, this teacher sent so many kids down the office and nothing ever gets done to those kids. Now listen, in the 5 years as an assistant principal and the 3 years as principal, any kid that's been sent down the office for a dress code violation, whether I agreed with the teacher or not, it was dealt with. So, and I know that's the same way Mr. Henderson operates, Mr. Denson operates, and Mr. Massera operates. So I'm not, I don't think we help ourselves out either. That we have teachers that are telling community members that the administration is not supportive of what the teachers are trying to do. And so I'm not sure how we get over that hump, but regardless of what we study and what we come up with, we need to consistently implement what we have.
I think there's an expectation there that you wanted to spell. At our table, we talked about this over. You can't pair it with the dress code. We can't change behavior necessarily with the dress code, but with implementation of setting limits, which is what I think that we need to look for is we need to set limits of what's acceptable, what isn't. There's a girl at our table who was talking about the ability to express yourself, and as you can see when you're growing up in high school, your ability to express yourself with your dress instead of repressing that. Sometimes people come out of themselves when they're able to dress as they want to within the limits of a confined sense. So I think there's a strong sense of individuality. We don't want to repress that at all. The other statement that I've heard in our conversation, and it wasn't mine, came from John, it's sort of a quote of John Wood, and it says, "I never ask anything of my students or my players that I wouldn't ask of myself." And so that goes back to, I would wonder if we surveyed the teachers, would you be willing to have, campus wear dressed that way also in order to help mentor and model behavior to our students, which I think is an important part of this. If we do campus wear, I think you should also make sure that your staff's doing it also. You want to model the behavior that's consistent because you're asking everybody to make the same sacrifices. And so I think that's a key part.
One of the committee members who was actually a staff member was asked that by a community member at one of our committee meetings. And the teacher had a great response in saying, I have higher expectations for my dress and teacher's dress than a campus wear dress. For example, what I'm wearing tonight would not fit our campus wear policy. Now, I think it's above and beyond our campus wear policy, but that's the expectation of our staff. It should be professional to the point that it is higher than what we ask our students to do. And, we do have our Redmond Fridays, and teachers do wear jeans. And, if we were to go to this point, would the teachers be willing to give up their jeans on Friday? And so those are questions that obviously.
And I'm not trying to call them out or point the finger here. I'm just wanting to say consistency is, we have to change the heart of our community in order to change the attitude of bullying and some of these other things from that. The research doesn't necessarily show that going to community wear or campus wear is we're investing a lot of our time and our resources. And again, I guess my concern we should be more concerned with what we're putting into our children, with education, health, nutrition, those type of things. And it becomes almost a distraction we're creating when we spend so much time debating or concerned with their outer dress. Not saying that I'm against it, but I'm just saying I want this energy and this passion going towards what Paul's saying. The core of what we do here is educate our children. We provide them good, opportunities to learn, and I think we need to emphasize
But
that.
I don't want to undermine the work that the community put together and putting that
Right.
strategic plan
Absolutely.
together and
Yeah.
telling us to study this. We put this on the back burner for 2 years.
Right.
How long do we continue to put it on the back burner? Or is it time to at least get it out there and address it? You look up and down all the goals of the Student Life Committee, and they're achieving all those goals. One thing that sat out there and was not addressed over the last 2.5 years is dress code.
No,
So-
I think the forum's great. I'm not
Right.
criticizing it. I'm just saying is we look at all the other things that are on your table right here. We haven't even talked about costs and potentials for that. It's a well thought out, worked out process. There's nothing wrong with what we're talking about. I'm just saying to go to the next levels, we talk about finances, we talk about other things with that, and that's going to be incorporated in more and more studies that we're doing. So I think that our efforts come down to setting priorities and how we deliberate and how we come about doing that. And it's a long, arduous process. It takes time, and it's not an instant, boom, we're done type of thing. So it's a long, deliberate process. It needs to be prepared and set up again, just like we do with the 5-year plan, just like we do with everything else here. It requires a lot of investment of time of everybody, so.
Agreed.
And it would be great if we have significant financial and academic challenges facing this district. And it would be great if we could have the same kind of response in almost the same format. And if we could go on our financial issues, not with solutions, but giving the community the background and the information about our financial situation. And in a format very much like last night, say to them, let's brainstorm some solutions. What do you think we ought to be doing to address our financial concerns? And just like we all found out things we didn't even realize last night, I think the same thing could occur. And at the same time, the process builds support. And at some point in time, once people have a realization through those discussions that the district has needs, maybe we ought to look at ways to enhance our revenue instead of making all these cuts. And if that comes from the community, that's the most significant thing. Now, the process, good process is often really messy. And a lot of administrators get real uncomfortable with it because they kind of get a sense of losing control. But if we stick with it, I think we're on the right track.
The one thing that stuck with me too, not stuck with me, but I mean, the comments that I've heard, and I don't know why it stuck with me, but the teacher who said, you know, they didn't notice the kids that were doing that. I know in the 30-some days that I subbed over at Mansfield Senior, and they had the dress codes, and they had the campus wear over there, the teachers were able to recognize, in addition to teaching, okay? And kid didn't have his shirt tucked in. This is the second time I've told you today, that's it, you know? Third time, go down to the office, you know? And they were on them, not that they were sitting there actually teaching a class, but maybe out in the hallway, and all the teachers are out in the hallway, and the teachers were very cognizant and saying, hey, these are the dress code things, have they done there? So the enforcement, you know, we can make the dress code that everybody has to wear tuxes and prom dresses every day, but guess what? If we're not enforcing it, it's not gonna help, and I think the teachers have to be, and all staff people, janitors, lunch people, aides, everybody has to be, staff members have to be involved in it, and it can be done. I thought it was very successful at the times I was over there. I mean, the kids knew what the dress code was, they knew that they had to wear a certain type of shoe and pants and stuff like that too, and if not, you know, I even worked in the detention room a couple periods where they came down, they had dress code violations, and I had to mark down what was going on here. So it was a very interesting experience. So. And any further discussion at all?
Just be interested to see what the
Yeah,
feedback was.
what the feedback was, yeah, definitely.
What we hope to do is get an email out to the subgroup committee, scan all that information in, get it out to the committee. We can also carbon copy all the board members on the feedback. And then once that group had an opportunity to meet, we'll keep you informed on what next steps to continue to investigate and potentially come to some conclusion.
Okay. Great. Okay, the All County Board's dinner is Monday, December 5th.
Yeah, I think I've RSVP'd for all of us that are attending. I think
Okay.
6 of us, and so we'll meet here at 5 o'clock, and I can drive everybody that evening. So if that's acceptable. If not,
And that is a week from yesterday.
Yes,
Correct.
yeah, next Monday.
Sorry, December.
5
Okay.
o'clock here, Kevin?
5 o'clock here. Let's meet 5 o'clock here, and I can drive everybody.
Okay. Our December meeting. Right now, we have it slated for December 15th.
Correct. My recommendation is that we move that up. I don't know what everybody's schedule.
5 o'clock?
Typically, we want to have some discussion on what we want to do Christmas-wise, dinner-wise. I've contacted Bogey Girl at Golf Course and have tentative reservations set up there for dinner at 6:30 for board members and their spouses are invited if you're able to attend. What I didn't do is I didn't book a private room. It's $50 for a private room upstairs and $200 for downstairs. I didn't see that being anything that we need to have privacy for, but if somebody else feels that's needed, I can check and see what that's like. But thought it'd be nice to stay in town. I think that, you know, that Mr. Johnson's trying to do a good job out there, and so do you disagree with that, Mr. Chief?
No,
Yeah.
I'll talk to Mr. Johnson.
Okay. I did not talk to him. I talked to some other lady.
Okay. Thanks, Paul.
Afterwards, can we do that? Marshmallows, graham crackers?
Yeah, we don't care what the weather is.
That's right.
It's an
If
inside-
you're out there now,
it's an inside kind of
little
joke.
canoe and kayak thing right out there, it says it's flooded, so.
Can everybody,
Oh, yeah. We can
can
play one
everybody
around
accommodate
right now.
5, or do you want to move to 5:30? What, Dr. Hope, can you do 5 or 5:30?
If it's Thursday, I can do 5, if it's, you know, the
That's a
second
Thursday.
Thursday.
It's Thursday, so
Okay. yeah.
5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, I could probably move up the dinner reservations to 6 if you want, because I don't think it'll be that long.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussions from the board? On communications. We had the response from State Representative Mike Stevens.
It's the only one, we sent out 99.
Isn't that cool though that we got one and it wasn't even
Even
ours?
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
But at least
But he responded.
he did.
Yeah, So it was positive.
Yeah,
And it was a positive response.
Yeah.
it was. And I thought it was nice.
So are we going to respond to the positive response that he sent to us in our resolution?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for sending us positive response.
You're the only one, and we don't even know who you are.
That's right.
We vote for you, you're good.
Yeah, we're- Okay. Any further communications? Any announcements? Wow. Adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second on that?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Dr. Johnson?
Go Bucks, I mean, yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Dr. Hope?
Yes.
Mr. Lipscomb?
Yes, and our meeting is adjourned. Thank you for attending.